Shoot what you can't see with OM's latest macro lens, the 90mm. The 90mm is a micro four thirds lens. It weighs about 450 grams in your hand, which actually makes it one of the lightest lenses of its class. It has 3 buttons on the side, a focus limiter button, an internal stabilization button, and a lens function button. The lens itself is actually weather sealed with an IP rating of 53, making it splash proof and dust proof. Simply wipe off any dust or water and it's ready to go. You can also combine the lens with an OM5 for complete weather sealing. One of the biggest features of the 90mm is it has 2 times magnification, or 4 times magnification at 35mm equivalent. It has a minimum focus of 0.25 meters, but if you adjust the focus limiter, you can go from 0.25 meters and beyond, 0.25 meters to 0.5 meters, and then to the big one, S macro. Now S macro is where you get your ultra high magnification. It can move a focus limit of 0.25 meters to 0.224 meters. For even closer magnification, you can also use a teleconverter. I'm using the MC22X teleconverter, but you can also use the MC14 1.4X teleconverter. Now what I found when the lens was set to S macros and a teleconverter was attached, the aperture wouldn't go any lower than 5.6. So be sure to have plenty of available lighting when taking those super close shots. Good lighting that would pair well with this lens is the ST-F8 macro flash or the FL700 with a modifier. The autofocus is a high-speed imager, which is naturally geared towards macro use. I found the autofocus itself to be incredibly responsive. It could switch from the foreground to background images within a second. But if you're not a fan of autofocus, fortunately this lens does have a manual clutch lens. Simply click the focus ring and you'll move from autofocus to manual focus. This means that you now don't have to go into your camera settings to switch off the autofocus. A simple click of the focus ring and you're into manual focus within less than a second. This lens also has internal stabilization, which is activated when you start to focus. The internal stabilization on the lens is always active, but you do have a button on the side which gives you the option to flick it off. But what I did find is once I slapped the teleconverter on, it was getting much shakier, which is going to be a natural thing when you're shooting that close at that magnification. Now let's talk about what you might have noticed in the images themselves, and that's the very narrow depth of field. This of course is going to be natural to macro photography, but fortunately you do have workarounds to this issue. For starters, you can get a tripod to hold the camera dead still and ensure that whatever in your depth of field isn't naturally shaken out by unstable hands. Another option is, in certain OM system cameras, you do have an option for focus bracketing. Now focus bracketing basically means you take the image multiple times at different focal lengths and it combines them together. In the case of the OM system, you have up to 15 frames that you can combine. So who's this lens for? Well, given its compatibility with the OM, it's lightweight, it's weather sealed, this does seem to be a lens that gears itself more towards outdoor shoots, such as bugs and plant life. But that being said, I do find that this lens is also great for product shots, such as jewelry, watches, and even miniatures. So if you shoot on a micro four thirds camera and are looking to upgrade your macro photography, you really can't go wrong with the 90mm.